Hello and welcome to Legends of the Wind. I'm Jurri Schenck. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are having an amazing podcast show tonight. The story, The Power Within tonight. I'm really excited to deliver it to my good friend Linda Aldera, and it's going to keep you on the edge of your seat, and I think that it's going to be able to provide an amazing story of encouragement in the midst of great suffering and trial and tribulation in the story. So I'm so excited for you to join us tonight. And I want you to remember what stories are for you. Now, imagine that there is a magical library in heaven, and it contains books and has stories written about you and me. It's not just a literal storytelling like a biography kind of thing. It's all sorts of genres: fantasy, action, adventure, mystery, noir, whatever it could be. And it has stories just written about you. And these stories contain hidden treasures. They're parables for you so that you can understand what you're going through in your identity and destiny and unlock amazing treasures for you to apply into your life. And that's what these stories are all about. So if you knew that there were stories written about you and you had access to them, wouldn't you want to know what story you're in? And that's what I do here for you to help you discover your story. So thank you for joining us tonight. Now, we have a big question for tonight. It's our kind of a theme or something we want to ponder about. It's called, the question is, what do you do when you've done everything you can? So think about that. Think about what that means in this story. Now, last broadcast we had Gracie on. And man, that was such a phenomenal experience for me and Gracie to unlock her story. And that story really helped her deal with condemnation. She was like thinking she said something wrong at a dinner with her friends. That's in the story. And then after the fact, she said that actually happened in her life. Now, I never met Gracie before, and I never interviewed her or anything like that, and yet the story opened up and tapped into her real life. Now, something about Linda Aldera for tonight. I've known Linda for a very long time. My wife, Alisha, Choi, and I were married on their property, and so I've known Linda for a very long time. But does that mean I'm disqualified from giving her a story? No, it does not mean. And so what happens is anything I know about a person that I write a story for, I just set it aside and I go and I listen and I go and look and see what is the story the Spirit is telling me for that person or that friend or family member right now. And so that way they can trust that the source of the story is accurate. So we have people in the chat. Mike is here, our faithful super fan, Mike Smith, who I gave a story just recently, and he so loved it. It was so cool to have that time with him as well. People have been ordering stories, and this is really great. So I want you to understand that we are still taking orders. And if you really want to have your own story from me, you can go to legendsofthewind.com, go to our store, our shop, and look for the product Become a Legend. And there you can order a story from us. And we ask you to do a couple agreements. One is a release to be on the podcast so I can deliver it to you live for the first time. And the other thing is a contract because it is a financial thing. And that basically gives us the right to publish your story and other things. But there's nothing weird or out of the ordinary about them. And then, of course, you get to schedule when you appear on the show. And fortunately, we've been having a lot of demand, a lot of interest, and people have been scheduling and ordering, and that's awesome. And so Lisa says, hi, Jurri. Thank you. Good to see you, Lisa. And my wife, daughter, Alisha and Kylie here. Now, don't forget our book. This is volume 1 of our Legends of the Wind. It contains 20 prophetic stories. And if you haven't ordered this book, you should go and order it. Go to Amazon.com or to our website, Legends of the Wind. Just because these stories were written for other people does not diminish any value to you as a reader. These things contain amazing treasures and amazing revelations in them, and they're all very vast and different in different styles. And my wife, Alisha Choi, if you look at the background here, she painted this design for the Fire Bear, which is also part of our book cover. She can also do custom designs for you for your one special story. You can do a hardbound or softbound, and Alisha painted these things just for an individual, single print, and you can order that from her as well. We welcome that. And we highly encourage you to order and get a story because they will really change your life and give you a sense of direction. Now, welcome to the show. That's enough about the business. I'd like to introduce to you my good friend and almost a family member, pretty much, Linda Aldera. She joins us now. So, Linda, I'm bringing you on. Welcome, Linda. Well, thank you for coming on our show tonight. How are you?
Good. I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. I'm so happy to see you. It's been a long time since we've been on video before. It's great. So, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Linda Aldera, and I live in the Los Angeles area in California. And I am recently retired. And I really thought I'm an RN, and I really thought I was just in my ultimate destiny. And then I had to retire to take care of my husband, and I was devastated. And so I thought, okay, my destiny has ended.
Hmm.
As a nurse, I thought, wow, that is the ultimate of what God had for me because it was the best use of my natural and spiritual gifts. So now I really don't know what God has ahead for me, but I do know that the destiny that God has for us is much greater than we think. So this came as a really timely piece of the puzzle for me because I'm really not exactly sure where I'm headed next. And this is just a really unusual way with the prophetic story of helping you to get direction for destiny that I've never experienced before. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I know Jurri really hears from God. So
Thank
I
you.
trust that this is really going to kind of direct me in a new and exciting way on my path
Great.
to my
Thank
destiny.
you. Thanks, Linda. I really appreciate that. Um, so, when you first got the opportunity to request a story, what was going on? Like, you kind of explained it already, but I know that you're wanting direction. I understand that. Just so you know that your story is more of a currently here and now thing. Just so you know,
Hmm.
it's a what they call like a dream interpretation, like conditional. Not that it's like you're not going to give a destiny unless you do something. It talks about the current condition. I just want to frame that for you. So your story is called "The Power Within," and I think that you already explained why you wanted a story. Do you have anything else you want to add about that before we go on to framing your story up?
I don't think so. I know that God has something else for me. And quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I'm really not sure what it is, but I've been a
Okay.
Christian for 45 years and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I'm ready. I'm ready for my story. I'm ready to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived my life a long time and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to mess around anymore. I want to know clearly where God's leading me so I can start
Right.
walking in that more fully.
Absolutely. I know. I think all of us resonate with that desire. Now, as I was saying before the show to you, that what I've been learning on this podcast, when I have to prepare a person to receive a story, I want you to know that this story is not a literal story. This is symbolic. This is where there's hidden treasures in the symbols. And the story is a revelation for me and you. And when we read the story, we're processing that revelation. Afterward, we'll have a conversation and we'll get to find the interpretation of what that means for you. And then you can figure out what to do to apply that revelation and that interpretation. And then you, as a recipient, have a choice. You can say, yes, I receive this story, or no, I do not, or parts of it. And also, sometimes you may go, well, I received this, but I may need to wait on it. I may need to sit on it or marinate in it or process in it. So that's kind of like how I want you to look at this as we go. And like I said to other episodes, that for you, Linda, on the receiving end, it's like drinking from a fire hose because this is an amazing engagement of emotions and imagery. It's not just a telling of like a prophetic word at church. This is a creative artwork. And I want you to know that it's an experience. And typically, you can go back to the replay and do it again. You're going to pick up something new in that experience as well. Are you ready for story time?
Hmm.
All right, great. Thanks. All right, Linda, your story is titled "The Power Within." The storm was raging at the midnight hour, and all the power was out in the entire neighborhood. Linda sat in her rocking chair with a blanket over her, trying to stay warm. She held a small candle in front of her precious eyes and waited for something to save her. This attack of weather wasn't a surprise for Linda, for she saw the storm appear far off in the distance on the reports and radar screens. This vision of the coming storm alarmed her heart, and stress filled her soul. She kept asking herself, will anyone come to us and help? The loneliness of her situation bothered her. Her house was tiny and made of old wood from more than 100 years ago. It sat on the coastline and bordered the stone sandy beaches. However, its foundation was based on solid rock. Even though the rocks had cracks in them, they still had stability. Fortunately, Linda was the keeper of the lighthouse, and that edifice was still lit out on the peninsula of the coast. Her little home was only a couple of 100 yards away. At its base, a powerful generator powered the lighthouse's beam with a full tank of fuel. However, its electricity couldn't power both the tower and her home. The wind blew hard, and the rain pelted down on her roof as Linda held on tight with a small amount of hope in her heart. This storm was like no other in her life. It was the worst pain she had ever endured. What can she do? Linda looked out the window and saw the spinning light of the tower flickering slightly. Something was wrong. Maybe the generator was having issues. Linda looked out further into the ocean, and every once in a while, as the beam of light shone out, Linda saw a ship. Panic filled Linda's heart as the winds and rainstorm battered the ship. It needed to moor and come into safety, but this area wasn't the proper place for such a need. Linda needed to communicate with the ship and tell it where to go. Linda faced a tough choice. Should she stay inside her shaky house and wait for the storm to pass? Or will she venture out amid the raging storm and help someone else in greater need? The pain of the storm was hard enough. She felt fear and anxiety. Her body shivered with the cold. The sacrifice had already been great. It didn't matter. Linda knew her choice. She grabbed her lantern and adorned her rain jacket and went outside to face the storm. Through the precipitation, Linda marched down the path and made her way toward the lighthouse. As she neared, Linda saw the flickering beam of light increase in rapidity. The problem got worse. She ran hard and soon came to the base of the tower. Linda flew open the door and came to the base of the stairs that spun their way up the tower. Next to the stairs and off to the right was the generator system, mounted on a concrete platform. Its engine struggled and whirred and popped with air in its system. The choke was not working. It was dying as each second passed. Linda looked at the fuel tank and saw it had plenty inside. She had to brainstorm. The engine was getting worse and caused the flickering to leave more darkness than light. Linda's stress inside was even greater. All at once, the generator stopped working, and everything in the lighthouse tower went dark. Darkness. Linda only had her lantern to guide her. Linda faced an even greater choice. Should she rush to fix and restart the generator, or somehow send a communication of light out to the ship at sea and tell them where safety was? Linda ran up the stairs as fast as she could. Her footsteps splashed with rainwater. The spiral path made her head spin with dizziness. Soon she reached the top and looked out. Lightning flashed twice, and Linda saw the ship. It was heading straight for the coast as the wind pushed it. Linda took her lantern and used a Morse code pattern, turning the light on and off, hoping to gain the ship's attention. After a moment, the ship returned the signal with its flashing light. Linda's heart leaped for joy. Together, Linda and the ship communicated through the Morse code for a moment. The brave lighthouse keeper learned the ship had lost one of its masts, and the water was filling its lower chambers. The situation was dire. Linda called back with the light, and she said she understood. However, Linda instructed the ship to travel south, away from the coast to a tiny pier where a small cottage coastal village lives. There they would find a safe harbor. The ship flashed back that they would try, but then warned Linda that more ships were coming this way. Linda realized she must fix the lighthouse beam. Lightning flashed again, and just off in the distance, Linda saw more ships coming. She tried to flash her lantern, but the rainstorm and wind made it impossible for them to see. They needed a brighter light. Linda raced down the stairwell and reached the generator. She brushed off all the water on its surfaces and examined the device. Her lantern didn't give her enough light to see well. Linda pumped the choke and then pulled the rope on the igniter. The engine choked and sputtered. It wouldn't turn on. Linda was so frustrated, and her energy was all but gone. Linda grabbed the rope pull starter again and held her breath for a moment. With all of her determination and might, she pulled the starter and cried out, "Come on!" The engine again sputtered and choked, and it seemed Linda lost all hope. But in another moment, the engine kicked in and took off. The generator turned on. Linda felt elated, and in an instant the lights turned on, and the spinning beam of the lighthouse shone out into the night. She ran back up the spiral staircase to the top of the tower. Using a shield of rotating blades with the beam held still, Linda flashed out Morse code as a message to the other ships where to go. The other ships returned their message and acknowledged the instruction. They will be fine. Linda felt great relief and went down the stairs a final time. As she walked, her pace was slower. Linda realized that although she felt weak, tired, and full of fear, there was something greater inside of her. It was the true light of her heart. She found a greater power within. Her efforts were not in vain, even though the stakes were high and even increasing. The help she offered to those in danger and in need produced successful work. The storm was indeed greater, but she saved the lives of many. Only later, after the storm had passed, a messenger came to Linda's doorstep on a sunny day. She received a note that surprised her. The letter was an invitation from the community leaders to give Linda an award in recognition as the county's hero. Her brave efforts saved 4 ships that carried multiple children and their families, all of whom were passengers in the storm. It was Linda's decision to come out of her comfort zone and face the storm that resulted in life, not death. Linda thought she was in great agony, but her actions showed she was fearless as she prayed. Inceptio. So while you're thinking about how to start talking and can reverse, I would like to encourage you that this story, like I said earlier, is more of a conditional story. It deals with your current condition of yourself. However, it's a place of encouragement because it deals with your character and who you are as a person. So I want to frame it that way for you. I know that you communicated that you wanted some sort of direction, but before maybe before you get the sense of where you're going to go or what's going to happen in the future, before that revelation comes, it's also important to have revelation of your identity. And I think that this story can show you about that identity and also celebrate you, because heaven is celebrating you. Heaven has observed who you are and what you're going through. Does that help or make sense to you, Linda?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't really know what to say.
That's fine.
I really feel that it points to, in some way, the circumstances that I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
This truly has been one of the toughest seasons in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thriving as an RN in the area that I was working. And when I had to stop doing what I was doing, it was devastating. It was traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I retired to become a caregiver. And I told the Lord, I don't like this assignment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having to be a caregiver for my husband. And I love my husband, but that wasn't what I had in mind for retirement. And he told me, you need to embrace the assignment. You know, your family's important. It's a covenantal relationship. And so I think a lot of what you're saying, it is a character thing, because he has been working in my character to accept the assignment. And he told me if I accepted the assignment and embraced the assignment, I would be promoted. So there's been a process of me embracing the assignment. And I really believe that I'm getting there. And I really believe that God is giving me grace, and he's giving me a love for my husband that's unconditional, because he has not only has stage 4 prostate cancer, but he has dementia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having to love him in more of a self-sacrificial way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that storm relates to a lot of this that I'm going through and the character building that he's producing in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really gone deeper in my relationship with the Lord. I
Yes.
mean, I've had to depend upon him in ways I never have before. And I'm hearing his voice more. He's giving me an encouraging word or direction every day I hear from the Father. And I've never, ever, ever heard like this before.
Wow.
So I don't know how it relates, the symbolism relates to the ship, and maybe you can help me with some of the symbolism because
Yeah.
you probably understand some of the symbolism more than I do. Does
Right.
it resonate with you that maybe what I shared about what I'm going through, the trial, the intense trial,
Absolutely.
is probably related in some way to the story?
Sure. So you're taking care of Bob, your husband, and the story says, fortunately, Linda was the keeper of the lighthouse. So, what's the function of a lighthouse?
Hope and to have light. I mean,
Yeah,
and I've been receiving more light from the Lord.
yeah. It's a beacon of hope. It is
Mm-hmm.
also a place to direct, away from danger. Like, don't come this way. The rocky shores will make your ship sink. And so the danger is the storm, and the people at risk are the ones on the ship. So Bob could be maybe one of the ships, for example, and you are working very hard, coming out of your comfort zone, and doing your best selflessly for the benefit of others people's lives. And then at the end of the story, you have a reward, that it wasn't just an effort in vain, and it also doesn't it did not go unnoticed. And so your labor, your sacrifice, your hard work, the time and energy you've spent is indeed worthy of celebration for what you've done, and to be rewarded in some way. So I think the story definitely resonates with your real life situation. Do you have anything to add to that, or any other way of adding a perspective?
Well, what's coming to me right now is that what you just said about, victory coming and
Mm-hmm.
that God used me to save lives. I think that might refer to what God has ahead for me. And I don't
Okay.
know what that looks like,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives me encouragement that what I'm going through is not in vain. And I know that we are called to partake in the sufferings of Christ,
Mm.
and that we don't fully understand it and we don't like it. We don't like that process. But look what happened to Jesus. He was crucified, and actually when I watched the Passion of the Cross this time, I noticed that he embraced the cross. It's like when he was carrying it,
Mm-hmm.
he embraced it. It was like for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. And he
Mm-hmm.
told me that one day. That was one of the things that he said to
Wow.
me was, Linda, for the joy set before you, endure the cross. Because there's a
Wow.
reward, there's a resurrection that's
Mm.
coming. And I
Wow.
think what you were saying about me being used to save the ships, that may speak to the destiny that he has ahead for me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you can see that. We have a couple of comments from Mike Smith in the chat. Hi, Mike. Thanks for participating. Mike says, I think the ship may represent your husband and what is happening with him. Your attempt to get the generator started may represent what you're trying to do for your husband. You may think it isn't working, but God is showing you that it is. So that's basically what we've been discussing, but also he mentioned the generator. And so it's what you're trying to do, right? Generate help, generate energy. So I would believe that is reflective of your character and your effort that you're working on with Bob and his situation.
Yes, I'm totally surrendered to God. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I need him like I've never needed him in my
Right.
life ever.
Right.
He's proven himself faithful, and
Mm-hmm.
I have hope. And it's just, it's like he's giving me a grace
Mm-hmm.
to be able to move through this. And it's not easy. I mean, I
No.
have my up days, I have my down days. But I have found, like in the song Jira, he's
Mm-hmm.
forever enough, he's always enough, he's more than enough.
Oh, wow.
And he's showing me that.
It's good. Thank you for sharing that. Also, looking at this symbolically, um, in the story, your character is communicating with Morse code. You're actually trying to communicate to the people that are in danger. What do you think about the idea of communication for you? How does that work? I mean, you talked about that you hear God's voice more than ever before. So that's receiving communication. So let's talk about a two-way street. How is communication working in your life right now?
Okay, I don't know if this is answering your question, but this year, last September, the Lord's told me to start going to the Southern California School of the Supernatural.
Okay.
And the first year is on identity.
Mm-hmm.
The second year is on intimacy. And I
Mm.
already signed up for second year because I loved it.
Good.
But the Lord showed me that I was doing worship with the Lord all these years, like not in a very effective way.
Mm.
And, I worked as a nurse the last several years. I was gone for 11 hours a day. So my quiet times were always rushed. And I've always been more like, I guess you'd say religious about, okay, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do that. Well, I found out in the School of Supernatural, I was making it much too hard on myself.
Hmm.
So what I learned was, and I was so proud of the fact as a nurse that I knew how to multitask. But it's not very beneficial when you try to do that in your time with the Lord.
Hmm.
So I want to share this because this is really key.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, I was in my time of worship with the Lord, I was trying to do intercession, repentance, and praise and worship all at the same time. And I always felt really, I didn't feel free. I felt bound up, but I didn't know it.
Mm.
So I was talking to the director one day on our Zoom call, mentorship, and she said, "No, Linda, you need to have praise and worship just all by itself, where you just praise the Lord and you don't do anything else. You can do those other things later." So
Mm-hmm.
this is key to what I learned,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So the communication that you're talking about is, okay, I have the time where I have praise and worship with the Lord, where I'm solely praising Him, thanking Him, adoring Him. So that's my communication to the Lord. And then she says, okay. So then I turn on the instrumental music and I receive. So that's His communication back to me. So
Mm.
what I learned from that is I give Him His time and then I receive from Him.
Mm.
And what I found was within 10 minutes every single day for almost 4 months, Abba Father has been speaking to me, giving me an encouraging word, direction, or comfort.
Mm.
It gives me the strength to get through the day. I've
Wow.
never had that before. So
Oh,
I don't know. Does
wow.
that answer your question
Oh,
about
that
communication?
that's perfect.
Okay.
That absolutely is perfect because I think what people of faith struggle with is that they think that they have to do all the talking. It's a two-way conversation. It's just like you and I are having a two-way conversation. If you're God and I'm the person praying, and all I do is talk, 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 and then I leave.
But
Well,
I'm so much freer. I mean, I was
yeah,
never free like this before.
right.
And
That's
maybe
a.
that's the Morse code. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's the Morse code where Abba Father's talking to me. Could that be the Morse code? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I could be. The thing is, like code, right? So stories like these legends are codes. The Bible can be communicated literal, direct words, right? But sometimes God conceals a matter, and it's up to us to discover. It's like the scripture says, God conceals a matter. The glory of God to conceal a matter. It's a glory of a king to search a matter out and discover something. So when you have a communication in code, like in the story with like Morse code, it's the same thing in our life that, God's speaking in all sorts of ways. He can speak in the Bible. He can speak prophetically directly. He can speak in dreams. He can speak in music of popular culture, not just a church song. And so it's up to us. Are we perceptive? Are we picking up when God's speaking to our lives? And so those things might be having a hidden treasure element where you can hear a popular culture song. For example, there's this song by the Eurythmics from the 80s, Talk to Me Like Lovers Do. And that's one of the phrases in the lyrics of the song. And God would tell me that in the past, talk to me like lovers do. And that's not a Christian song. It's not a worship song. But he was speaking to me and he was wooing me into his heart to relate to him through an 80s pop song.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So are we perceptive? Are we aware? And so we don't have to have a direct language to speak to us, because part of it is that God wants us to discover things. And if someone comes up to us with the truth and hands it to us, typically it's hard to receive directly. But if we have some sort of coded message like a parable or something in artistic form, and we go, aha, there it is. That's what he's saying. That becomes something more powerful because it becomes an owned revelation. So that's maybe the Morse code thing in your story. Does what I'm saying resonate? Does that work for you? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Can you sum up what you just said?
Yeah. So we need to be perceptive when he's speaking, but it may not be obviously direct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am going to have to mull this over a little bit.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I know that it relates to me. And I think the most encouraging thing about it is that not only is it relating to this intense time of difficulty I'm going through, but just giving me hope at the end that he's going to use me.
Right. And here's another thing, Linda. While you're pouring out to do this for Bob and other people, now what about letting him pour in? Because the title of the story is called The Power Within. Now, if we're not receiving from him first, then we are not going to have much of a resource to give out. And so the lighthouse is a symbol of hope. And so it could have multiple applications. So it's a symbol of hope where you're trying to help Bob or other people. It is just as equal a symbol of hope for you, because inside that generator at the bottom of this lighthouse is a full tank of gas for that generator. And if you think about the generator as your heart, right? You, Linda, you have a heart, but God wants you to tap into his full tank. He wants you to receive from him first, that full tank, before you give it away. The Bible says that, we love him because he first loved us. So that means that we first have to receive from him first before we give it away to people or to God himself. And so that's something I want to encourage you, that even though that this story may speak about saving a ship or a series of ships or saving Bob, for example, just as much as important, he wants to take care of you. You don't want to be the savior of the world on your own. You want to be able to tap into his love and his resources. That's why the title is called The Power Within. And that power is not you. It's not you. And it's meant for him to give to you. Does that follow? Do you follow that?
And that's just exactly what's happening. He's teaching me how to do that. Yeah.
Good. Very good. Yeah, so I would say that your rewards are due coming, and that you can have joy and hope in the midst of the storm. Because it's like he wants to take care of you, not just you always having to take care of everyone else too. It's a two-way street. Just as much as you're communicating with him, he wants to impart to you strength. And I can tell you're weary. I can tell you're tired. And that you need a fueling. So I would just encourage you that is promised to you. And so I think that how we talked about the stories of Revelation, we've talked about interpretation, and now we're looking at application. Linda, what are you going to do with this revelation of a story? I think the big thing is about receiving that full tank, because that's the core that enables the generator to turn on and to power that lighthouse and to be a beacon of hope for others. But he needs to help you first. It's kind of like, you're in an airplane, the routine they always do, the pre-flight instructions. If the air masks fall down, put yours on first, then take care of someone else's air mask, because you may lose consciousness, right? And the air pressure. So you need to be aware of your needs and your energy level and what is important to your health and your sleep. And then God can speak to you about practical things for you and give you strength and encouragement in your spirit and soul. Out of that time, you can be able to give to Bob. Out of that time, you can help others. Also, I think that's important, and I don't know if this is possible for you, is that we need each other. I wish I wasn't in Wyoming. I wish I was in LA to be with you and Bob. Alisha and I terribly miss you. We really do. We wish that we can get free from Wyoming to be able to be with those who we're family with. You're our family, Linda. You and Bob are our family. I mean, you let us have our wedding in your property. And Bob's been an integral part of my journey, and so have you. And so while Alisha and I can't be physically present, I don't know if it's possible that you need people around you in your vicinity to be able to give you a break, for example, help you go grocery shopping or getting errands taken care of. But one of the beautiful things is that we're not meant to be alone. And I think the story talks about that, didn't it? It talked about loneliness. So let me see
Oh,
here.
it did, and I've been feeling really lonely.
Yeah.
When I worked in a busy surgical unit, we had hundreds of people going through, and I worked there for 20 years. And then I come home and I'm isolated, and COVID doesn't help either, especially in California.
Right.
And so I have just felt more isolated than I've ever felt before. And so that's where the enemy gets in there too, where he makes you feel unworthy, like nobody loves you because nobody's around. I mean, it's craziness what the enemy does. So yeah, I've been feeling very lonely off and on.
That
because things
makes
have changed.
sense. I mean, do you have any friends that you can tap into at all? Anybody from previous?
Mostly over the phone, and most of my best friends live out of state.
Like me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have a friend. I have a friend who lives here, but she's tied up with her in-laws who are in their late 80s, so they're requiring their, their help. So, I really don't have people. I have one friend that we go over and visit every couple weeks, but most of my friends work. But the Lord also has shown me that this is a time where I'm kind of like in a cocoon. And that's where he has me right now.
Okay.
And that he's teaching me how to depend completely on him in the situation where I don't have the resources I had before. So I think he's doing a good thing, even though it's a hard thing. And I do have people I can talk to, but I just don't have a lot of physical support. I don't have a lot of physical presence in my life with people. A lot of them work. They're busy. You know how it is. But one thing I do want to share that might encourage someone is that the Lord told me that, because I was really having a hard time accepting this assignment. I did not want this assignment. And the Lord told me, he said, you know what? He said, this may be one of the most important assignments that you have in your entire life, because you are isolated. You are doing things behind the scenes. No one's seeing you, but this is all about your covenantal relationship with Bob and with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a self-sacrificial act of loving unconditionally. And so he's basically telling me he values that
Mm.
more than maybe a lot of the other things that I've done in the ways I've ministered, because he's teaching me about self-sacrificial love. And I have never, ever had to learn in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But he is giving me the grace and the love for Bob in ways that I know doesn't come from me, it comes from him.
Wow. That is a difficult yet very beautiful activity and purpose. So
I'm
I
starting to look at it that way. And
you were what?
I think most people, I'm starting to look at it that way. And,
Okay.
most people, they want to be in the limelight and they want to do ministry in the church, or they want to do this or that. And I'm not downplaying that at all, but he's showing me the how special it is to be in the place where I am right now, that
Mm-hmm.
he values that. And that'll be something probably that he will, that it will have eternal significance. And
Mm-hmm.
there will be a reward and a breakthrough
Yes.
as long as if I complete the test, and I don't, as long as I complete my assignment and pass the test, then I'll be promoted. It's
Right.
a really hard test.
Right.
But with his grace and love, I am amazed at the grace that he's giving me to be
Mm-hmm.
able to love my husband through
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
because he's not the same person he used to be.
Right. Yes. I hear you, Linda. Lisa's speaking on chat. She says, hope, Hope, having opportunistic, prayerful expectations. Hope, Hope. She also, Lisa says, the oxygen reminder keeps coming up. What a special lady, hearts. And then Lisa also says, from when you were just speaking, I needed to hear this. Exclamation points. So,
Well, this makes it worth it,
yeah.
because I I'm a nurse. I have a heart. God has gave me a pastoral heart.
Mm,
And if somebody can benefit, it's making me cry now,
that's okay.
from this difficulty I've been through, I
Yes.
want other people to be encouraged, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are taking care of parents or spouses, and it's a really tough place to be. But the perspective that God has given me on this through the daily words he gives me has really, really helped.
Wow.
Give me the right perspective.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you for commenting. You really needed to hear this because just like Lisa, you could be a ship lost at sea and Linda's operating the lighthouse for you. And
Mm,
you guys can be a beacon of hope for each other. And here you guys are communicating with Morse code over the internet.
yeah.
Wow. If anybody has any other comments or questions, we'd welcome them in the chat. Um, just like to open it up and just remind the audience that if you do want your own story, you can order a story from legendsofthewind.com. I forgot to give a price. So we are doing a sale, and it's 60% off. And typically these stories are cost $250, but we're offering it to you at this time for $99. And we just want you to know that I'm being very sensitive and gentle with Linda tonight. I hope that you can hear that in my voice. And these stories are all very vast and different. Everyone has different lives, different personalities, different strengths, weaknesses, and all these stories are uniquely tailored to you, that person. So if you really want to get a story, order one at legendsofthewind.com and look for the Become a Legend product. This is a creative art. This is not a prophetic word that you get at a church time. This is something more artistic and creative, if that makes any sense. And so there's a lot of cool things about these stories that will speak to you for the rest of your lives, much more than just something that's direct language. So Linda, I hope that you are strengthened and encouraged by this story tonight in our conversation. Um, do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to add to this or anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so, but I'm really very encouraged by this.
Oh, good.
Like I said, I know that there's more processing. I know that
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's there's multiple layers
Mm-hmm.
of this. God has a tendency to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know that I'm thankful for the revelation that He gave me, and I think He also used you too to help me kind of put some of the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I know there's more, but I feel really encouraged that this story just spoke exactly to my situation, and that there's hope, and that there's something amazing that's coming
Mm-hmm.
through this.
Thank
That's
you.
what I needed to hear.
Good. I'm glad. What would you tell someone that has never heard about Legends of the Wind? How would you describe us to them? And would you recommend, what would you say if you wanted to recommend them to get their story?
Well, now I'm really excited, having had my own story, because
Yeah.
I can see how much it was just a different type of way of hearing from God. Usually, over the course of my life, I've heard prophetic words, or I hear from the Lord in the Word, that kind of thing, that the more traditional ways.
Mm-hmm.
But this is more creative. And I think, really, God really speaks through the Word in a revelatory way.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very revelatory,
Mm-hmm.
very powerful. And so, of course, I'm going to tell everybody now.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, please, everyone who's watching, please share our videos. Also, it's really helpful to go back and look at other people's episodes. You can really tap into some amazing things that other people have received. I mean, Linda, you've said or before the show that you've seen other episodes. Like, could you explain what your experience has been while watching other people?
Uh, it's really difficult for me because I've been so overwhelmed with my circumstances the last several months. I kind of have some trouble right now, kind of going back to that and remembering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember I enjoyed listening to the stories. In fact, I was just going to listen to one or two, and I ended up listening to several.
Cool.
So I know I really enjoyed them, but because of where I've been emotionally,
Sure.
it's kind of hard to give you more details about that question right now.
That's fine.
Not that I don't want to, it's just that
You need the
I,
headspace. Yeah.
I've been kind of overwhelmed. Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Linda says, oh, not Linda. Lisa says, Linda is mending and growing. She's giving you heart kisses and heart, caring hearts. And then Lisa also says, what a loving, giving soul.
Oh, how sweet.
Aww.
Now I want to meet Lisa.
I know Lisa, and she's a very wonderful woman, and I adore her. And I think that the two of you, if you ever to meet, would just fall in love with each other. You both have the similar compassionate hearts that you both have, and I think there's some sensibilities about Lisa that you would benefit from, and same with her benefiting from you. It really would be a beautiful time. So maybe you can reach out to each other over Facebook and connect that way, Lisa. Lisa, I recommend that. Give Linda a connection, a direct message over Facebook, and get each other's phone number and chit chat. Who knows what will happen, because we all need each other, don't we? And I wish that there'd be physical help for you, Linda, but Lisa, myself, Alisha, we are here for you as much as we can over the internet, over the phone. So, well, we're at 50 minutes in, guys. So this is amazing conversation, a great story. I really enjoyed your story. I mean, when I was watching it as I'm writing, I'm like, good Lord, how's this going to work out? And it does. Every time it does. It always works out. So thanks, Linda. I'm really glad that you're... oh, and Lisa says, my sister's name is Linda. Well, Lisa, I'm sorry. You both have sisters that are Linda. Not just one. You got two. Okay? Get with it. So we're going to wrap up the show. Our podcast is on Monday nights typically, and sometimes on Thursdays. We try to schedule them ahead of time so you can check out our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Please like this video. Please share this video. I mean, one of the things that we really are hoping for is that people are getting stories and people are watching. Share all of our episodes and tell people to get themselves a story. You know, we really want to broaden our base and grow our business. Just so you know, we're not a ministry. We're not a church thing. We are a creative business, but we do it with the power of the Spirit, using our time, our talent, and our ability. So if you want to reach me, you can email me at support@legendsofthewind.com. You can find all of our products at legendsofthewind.com. If you want a story, become a legend. Check that out. And we'll see what happens when you order and get you an amazing story. So Linda, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so glad that we finally got our show done together. It's been several months in the making, and I'm glad. And so do you have any final thoughts to the people here? Mike says that this was a great story, very encouraging, and Lisa says sweet.
Oh, well, this was my pleasure. I feel so privileged and so thankful to God that I was able to be a part of this.
Oh,
And
thank
thank
you.
you too, Jurri.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad, and there'll be more, I'm sure. So everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Even though it was a methodical pacing I'm creating here, it went by fast, didn't it, Linda?
Yeah, and I really was nervous because I haven't been nervous the whole time, but I typically don't like to be in the limelight.
Right.
I'm someone who likes to be behind the scenes and deal with people one-on-one type of thing. But I do feel like I'm one-on-one.
Yeah.
Even though other people are listening, I don't see them. So I think maybe that helped me to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you felt safe and cherished here. So cool. Thanks. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight on Legends of the Wind. Thank you for letting Linda Aldera become a legend, and her story, The Power Within, really touched her heart. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on our next broadcast. Oh, by the way, this Thursday I have 3 shows to do. Okay, something happened with our calendar, and 3 people got booked, all in the Thursday time, and I am behind the 8 ball right now getting things written. So pray for me that I get my stories finished in time. Okay, so thanks, guys, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye. Bye, Linda. Thanks.
Bye.